Hi guys, it's Ray. Someone asked in my last cosplay Matsuri vlog for a tutorial on how I make my booth signs. So for context, I don't have Adobe Illustrator, which is what I think most people would be using to do this. I use Figma, which is like a free prototyping tool. So it's something you might know if you're in the IT space, which I am. And I found it's very similar to Adobe Illustrator. I use Figma for my YouTube thumbnails, even like all my YouTube thumbnails have been made using Figma. An alternative would be Canva, but I like the freedom of editing the vector graphics. Like you can edit point by point if you want. Just want to preface by saying this won't be a tutorial. I'm sure there's a lot of Figma tutorials out there, but I didn't want to go too into the details of it. I'll just go over the main tools I use to create these signs or the different materials I have. Just want to start by going over the Figma interface. So this is the Figma desktop app. You can use Figma on the browser. I do prefer the desktop. To go over the interface briefly, the top has the tabs. You can create new files with the plus sign. This is my logo file where I've put a lot more than just my logo. But on the left, you can see pages. If you're on the free version, I know there's a limitation to how many pages you can have. But for my purposes, I found that just the one page is enough. And I just put everything in there. That's the one sacrifice you're gonna have to make. Layers, if you drop down, you can see all the layers I have. I am not organized. You can be more organized than me, and in fact I do recommend it. On the right side you have the detail panel. So here you can see like options to export. If you don't click on anything, you can change the color of your page so to whatever you want. I know that by default it might be a light color. I typically put it in a darker gray because a lot of the colors I work with are white or light colors like that, so I need to see the contrast. Then on the center is your main screen where everything will be, where you'll put all the shapes and stuff. And they actually changed the interface, so this bar on the bottom used to be at the top, I think, but on the leftmost side you can see your move tool. So when you click V or this button here, it just moves things. Like that's pretty much it. There's a hand tool which you can use to drag around. To avoid having to click on the hand tool, you can just use the middle mouse button. So for example, I'm back on the move tool. I'm able to switch to the hand tool quickly because of the middle mouse button. And then there's a scale option, or K. So what this does is it scales the item by keeping the dimensions of it. So let's say I scale this print's text. If I was just doing the move tool, it turns out differently. Like you'll notice the star doesn't keep the same outline thickness, and the outline thickness just changes. So with scale, it scales also the outline thickness. So that's just the main tools. Frames, complicated to explain because this is where the UI parts go into. But frames, it's different from a group because in the frame you can choose a layout. You can lay it out automatically. Like things, if you put shapes in here, it will automatically lay out according to your preferences. Like they'll be organized horizontally or vertically. But I just think of them as like the canvas. So if I'm not doing any web design stuff, I'll just say, oh, that's the canvas. And you can think of it that way and it will be completely fine. If you can also just group things like with Control G, like the usual. Sections is a dev thing, so I won't go into that. Slice, I actually don't know. I don't know what that is. And these are the shapes. The third button has the different shapes. And the pen tool. So if you know Adobe Illustrator, you'll know what the pen tool is. So that's pretty much it. The same thing. And pencil. Yep. So you can just draw and it will become a vector line, and you can double click and edit the point. So that's how the shapes go. It's pretty much like Adobe Illustrator. You just double click and drag the points around. And then we have the text tool. So the text tool, you either click on this or the T. Hello, I'm typing. And comments. So comments are for the designers, web designers. Typically, if you have like a premium kind of Figma account, you can collaborate with other people and they can put comments on your files. Actions, I have no clue. Dev mode, that's something you don't need to know right now. I want to give you a tour of my logo file. Here is where I was working on the logo. I put down the main colors I wanted, and my workflow is like, I'll start with the text and then I'll copy it. I'll make edits. I'll copy it and I'll copy it again. I'll make edits, and then the final thing. Because I wanna have like saved states. Sorry, that was my dog. I wanna have saved states so that I don't, if I wanna go back, like, oh, I don't like this, I'll go back to the previous state. There's a big jump. It's giving how to draw a circle, draw the rest of the owl. But yeah, I don't know. I just forgot to keep making my save states, I guess. I have my price tags, my booth tags here. I do that again here. Here is where I have my frames for the catalog. So I posted the catalog before Cosplay Matsuri so that people can see what I had in stock. So this tutorial will be more on the booth signs and how I do that. So I started with the text. So text tool always is where I start. So let's say you wanna make a logo. One of my favorite VTubers, Mint Phantom. You have a booth, your Mint Phantom, you have a booth. And this font I use is called Payton 1. There's a lot of Google fonts built in by default. Like Google fonts, you can choose whatever you like. I like this one because it's kind of thick. So that's what I started with. I had my text and then I copied that over because I wanted to still have that main text as reference. So when I copied it over, what I do next is I want to edit it to be rounder because I don't like the sharp edges. And the way you can make that happen is by right-clicking, and there's this thing called outline stroke. When you outline the stroke, it turns it into a vector. So I think there's two ways you can do this. You can either flatten it, like Control E flatten, but I like the outline stroke because it already separates them into individual shapes, which is gonna be useful for my future steps. Now that I have my text vectorized, it's not anymore a text object. You can edit the parameters with the right panel. So here we have appearance, position, layout. So we're looking here at appearance and you'll see this corner radius field. You can drag that or edit or input like something like 10. It'll make it round as you like. So I think I just added slight roundness, like 2 or maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, let's say 3. Now it's round and I like I like the way that looks. You're not required to set it up this way. Like sometimes this might not be how you edit the text. Maybe you'll edit this to be, oh, I'll edit this, I'll drag this down. There might be more things you'll do to the logo. That's my typical workflow because it's just simpler and I can reapply it to my sign. So that's all I do. The next thing I did was I made it kind of wobbly. Like I didn't want it to be, I wanted to have some kind of messy look because it gives a playful vibe, and I do that in both my logo and my stickers. Like every step here is simple enough that I can do it for my booth signs too. So I'll do that one at a time, and this is why it was useful to actually outline the stroke because now I have them individually. So I'll, let's say, rotate this, then that to okay. And I think this looks kind of cute. Now I'll decide on the color palette. So you can do that by just making some squares first, you know, see if you like how the colors look next to each other. So mint phantom is, you know, obviously mint colored. So I'll start with a light color so that I have something for the outline, for example. And then I'll do the main color, so I'll go a bit greener. So this one looks pretty cute. And then I don't know, maybe a slightly darker accent color. So I'll go a bit darker on the mint, and I'll push it in the hue to go a bit greener so that there's a bit more contrast between the two. And maybe I'll have a bit of accent color. So mint also has some kind of brownish colors in her palette, so there's just gonna be a few of that. Now we have my color palette, and I kind of like how that looks. I'll copy this over, and now we have my next state. So I'm gonna color this. Let me start with the main mint color. And I want to add a few of the chocolate color. So let me put that in the F, because the F is kind of boxy and it looks like chocolate, I guess. And let me copy this over so that I can keep the state. Next, you want to give it a bit more character. So I'll typically add outlines on it. So to do that, you can see the stroke in the right panel. I'll press +1 and I will increase the thickness. So couple things we're noticing here, and let me change the color first to the white, the light color that I picked. Couple things we're noticing. The outlines are overlapping. And that happens because we added an outline to the group. It applies the outline to each of the letters individually. So what happens is there's an outline on this M, it's over the I, the outline then covers the I. We don't really want that to happen unless that's the style you're going for. But let's say we don't. What I actually do is I'll copy this, I'll copy it again. So now we have my Mint Phantom outline. So I'll rename it Mint Phantom outline. And the top layer, this one, I will remove the outline from it. So what I've done is I've created a set of text behind the main one so that that's the only one with the outline, and it's behind everything so the overlap issue doesn't happen. Yeah, now I have my outline, and you'll notice there's some gaps in the O's. I'll just tidy that up with a couple circles. So yeah, I'll just copy this and this, put those guys in my outline folder, and now it's all gone and we have our outline thingy. And now we just have to add a bit more decorations. It depends on your branding. What I've done is my logo has my duckies and the stars. For my booth signs, I just put the stars on it for simplicity so I don't have to work too hard. Let's just do a simple look here. I'm just gonna maybe do the same. I'm gonna add like a wave around the text so that you can see how I do that. I'll copy it again. So we're doing a lot of copying here, but stay with me. So I copied it, and you are probably familiar with the concept of masks. And what we are gonna do is use that copied version as a mask so that everything we put here is like within this mask group will only show in these outlines. So that was confusing, but I'll show you how it's done. Let me make my little waves. I will add a fill color, and there you can actually see that the vector I made is only showing up in the Mint Phantom text. So if I take that out of the mask group, you can see the whole vector. Within the mask group, it's just within the text. I'm going to change the color of this to our accent color that we picked a while ago, looking the way I want it to. But the F, not so much. Not so much, because I want that to be like my chocolate shape. We can actually edit the mask group. So if you look on the left, the layers panel, you can see the Mint Phantom text as your mask group. And you know it's a mask group because, well, one, it says mask group. But two, there's like an arrow pointing upwards. So this is what it's basing the mask group on. So if you arrow down, you can see what is inside this mask. And let's say I just want to get rid of the F. You can just hide it or delete it. It's up to you. And now it's not being affected by that. Now we have our F clean slate. I'll actually take it out of the mask group because I want to repurpose it for another mask group. So I'll turn it into a mask group again, and you can see now vector path, use it as mask, called Alt or Control Alt M. And let me maybe add some lines to make it look more like a chocolate bar. I don't know. I hope this works. Let me just find a color. This looks good. And let me add this in the mask group. And there we go. Let me keep doing that. Look at kind of like everywhere. And there. Now it's like got stripes inside. It's a bit more interesting. Another thing I remembered is that Mint Phantom, actually there's a caret above the O. So I'll actually do that by making a caret with two rectangles. Is it caret or carrot? I'll rotate. This is the shape. What I can do is I can actually do a union. So I can do Boolean operations on it. Union, subtract, intersect, exclude the huge. We can press union, and now it's one whole shape. But if we want corner radius to apply properly, you first have to flatten it. So earlier when I was doing the union, you can still see the individual shapes. Once we flatten it, you don't see that anymore. It's one shape and you can see all the points. So now the corner radius should apply properly as we expect it to. And I'll add that here. And now I have the caret, but I'll also add it to the outline group. A neat trick is to choose something with the properties you want. So this group has an outline. I'll highlight it. So I just clicked on the side to highlight it, and I'll copy that with Control C. I'll go back to my shape and I'll just paste it. And now it has the outline. So you still do have to add the width. It just copies like the color. But yeah, it helps to lessen the things to worry about. So outside, and that's 16. So you can add a bunch of other edits to this. Like I know I use some shadows too. For now, I'll just keep it simple for this tutorial. You're done with your logo. You're done with your booth sign. You want to print it out. So click on the outline group. And what you're going to do is, yet again, copy the outline. So why are we copying the outline? That's because this is a really light color. If you're gonna print it out, it's gonna be hard to know what you're gonna cut. So what I do is I actually increase the outline by just a bit and change the color to like a gray. And this helps me know, okay, I need to cut up to this point. Yeah, so it's just a really simple hack to help you print with the printing and the cutting. So if I zoom into my signs, they all have that light gray. Even these little stars. That's about it. You can make your booth signs for your artist alley. Wow them, you know. All you have to do to make these price tags, I just use shapes. I like the star because it's easy to cut. Here's like a sample of how it looks on the booth. And I hope this video helps you. Thanks so much for watching.